All right, all right, all right. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome in. You found us once again. Shoot the Gap, the Rabbit Hole Fantasy Football Focus Show, here to help you to be gruntled with your fantasy football team and your fantasy football decisions. I am your humble host, Brian the Amigo Baldwin, and I am so happy that you're here to join me. Thank you so much for welcoming me into your day and helping you with your fantasy football decisions. I'm so happy. You have blessed me. Thank you so much. And how are you guys doing? I mean, I guess if you're watching, a couple things. You're either hardcore, which of course you are if you're watching me, one way or the other, or you made it to your semifinals and your finals, which is congratulations. Keep in mind that from this point on, you're a success. No matter what the situation is, you are a success because you have made it not only into the playoffs, but you got a playoff win. Just those two things in itself makes it a successful season. So congratulations. You are very good at fantasy football. Good job. Good job. All right, so this is our 148th show, December 21st, in this hopeful year of our Lord, and I have a great show for you today. Today I'll be going over some news, talking about, in that little segment I have of what's going on where I talk about some of the waiver wire pickups to see if they're kind of good or bad. We'll just go ahead and discuss it real quick. And then, of course, I have Shoot or Cease Fire for Thursday night's game. So, as you can see, there's a lot to do. Okay, a lot to get to. Let's get started. I always want to go and start off with thanking the supporters of the show. Sports Host app, and of course, High Volume Music Radio. Yeah, make sure and download that app, High Volume Music Radio app. Also check out the highvolumemusicradio.com. Also Facebook, their Facebook page. They play incredible music 24/7. The only time they're not playing incredible music is when they have amazing shows, like the Monday Mixtape, Rock and Roll Radio, Blame It on the Boogie, and of course, my show every Thursday 4 to 6, Drive Time Sports with Charlie and Brian. So make sure and check that out. So since this is my first video of the week, I always like to go ahead and start off with my thoughts on Monday night's game. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so the as you already know about the Packers and the Rams and everything like that, what happened there. Here's just a couple of thoughts on it. Don't want to dwell on it too much, but I do want to go ahead and at least give you some thoughts on what I saw. So first and foremost, the Green Bay Packers cannot stop the run. Okay, I mean, they were able to make Cam Akers look fantasy viable, but and he really wasn't. I mean, he rushed 12 times for 65 yards, but how many times were you watching that game? You're like, oh my gosh, Cam Akers looks like he's got it back. He's got his step back, right? Well, no, it's just the fact that the Packers just can't stop the run. So any type of running options that you have going against the Packers, like next week they're playing against the Dolphins. So, of course, that puts Raheem Mostert definitely right into play. So that's just something now going forward as you work your way through the finals. As either you're in the finals now or the semifinals or some weird thing. I have a listener that told me about a viewer, however you want to say it, that they are in a league where it goes to week 18, which first of all, week 18 is horrible. That sounds nightmarish. I mean, that sounds awful. I mean, if you're in a situation like this, tell your commissioner, fix that, man. You should not be playing till week 18. If you want to do this round thing like I'm going to talk to you about here in a second, because I'm just going off the side because this is just weird. Haven't heard of this before. Then have them start a week before. You should not be playing on week 18. That's just miserable. I mean, you're going to have to draft pretty much a whole new team because they're going to be sitting starters. The starters are going to play half a quarter, half a game. It's just dumb. Okay, just stupid. That's the best word I can come with. I know it's not very intelligent. It's not a $4 word, but yeah, it's dumb, it's stupid. Yeah, if you're a commissioner, you're doing that. What are you doing, man? What are you doing, dude? Come on, get on the ball. Be a commissioner. Fix your league. Anyway, what these guys do is that that week 15 and 16 is round one. Okay, so they add up the points. So you play the same person, same team twice, and then whoever makes the most points moves on to round two, which is the championship. Okay, and then same thing, 2 rounds, 17 and 18. Whoever has the most points. It's ridiculous, just ridiculous. Haven't ever heard of that before. Just stupid. But anyway, okay. The point is that what you can look at the Green Bay if you're in this moronic league like that. You can look at Green Bay and get whoever the running back is in Green Bay, and then probably their backup, because if it's a star running back, whoever's playing on week 18 against Green Bay, is not going to be playing. Oh my God, I still can't believe it's stupid. I condolences to anybody playing on week 18. How about that? All right, back to Monday Night Football. All right, so the return. All right. Here's the thing, okay? This is something that I need to talk about, and I want to talk to everybody about, because I am a Christian Watson manager, okay? I was blessed to be able to put him in my lineup whenever he was going off, and he had all those points before the bye week. Then he comes back, okay? This is the first game after the bye week, and this is with Romeo Doubs. Now, I know that he technically he led in targets, all right? But the return of Romeo Doubs makes me very, very nervous. And if you're a Watson manager, you should be nervous too. Doubs had 5 receptions. He had 5 targets, 5 receptions for 55 yards. So 5, 5, 5, 5. And just a bunch of 5s. 5, 5, 5, 5. Right? Okay. Well, this is his first game back. Okay. And so usually the first game back, they kind of ease players in. So it looks like they're going to be using Romeo Doubs even more, which I'll probably take away. Now, So I can see his usage increasing. There is one thing to look at, and we'll talk. And let's just go ahead and just bring it up. Let's just mention it, okay? That there was that last play of the game whenever Watson got confused and didn't turn around. That upset Rodgers. Okay, it upset him. You don't want to upset that old man, right? So the chances of him, like in that moment, going to Watson have decreased a little bit. Not saying they won't, but now it's decreased a little bit. And if they have Romeo Doubs on the field at the same time, it's my opinion, and only my opinion, that he would probably go for Doubs or definitely Cobbs before he goes to Christian Watson because of that, and the fact that they're still kind of in the hunt. So they haven't stopped believing, so to speak, and so they're going to still try to win. So I would be cognizant of that. I have a choice of playing either Christian Watson or Jalen Waddle. Same game. I'm leading Jalen Waddle because I'm nervous about this Dobbs thing. Something's changed. And, you got to be careful with, I think I mentioned this before with fantasy football. You have to look at the changes and then move with the changes. You can't be anchored into that one thought right now. That's the way that I have 2 rings, 2020, 2021s, because you got to be moving. Can't be anchored in that same thought, right? So just keep an eye on that. If you want to start Christian Watson, it's not a bad play. Just a little more nervy, a little bit more nervy, more volatile, so to speak. All right. Also want to make sure I mention this also about the reason why I chose Waddles, because as I just mentioned, Green Bay plays Miami. Now, the 2 cornerbacks, okay, Keon Crossan and Xavier Howard were able to shut down Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. All right. So how much more would they be able to do that against Watson and the other receiving options, excuse me there. And also, it seems true to me that as far as Waddle and Watson, situation, just whatever, letting you guys know how I feel about that, is that seems true to me that they're going to be putting Jair Alexander on Tyreek Hill, and that should open things up for Waddle, whereas the Miami has 2 great cornerbacks. So anyway, okay, all right, so so I think that's basically it. Okay, that's basically it. Those are the kind of things I wanted to point out that just was glaring to me. Green Bay Packers can't stop the run, and the return of Romeo Doubs makes Christian Watson a little bit more volatile. So we have to kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so when you're making your decisions, because remember, you are just, unless you're in that weird, messed up, dumb, stupid, horrible, league I just told you about, the 2-round things, you are living week to week, like most people, like 99.9% of fantasy players are living, like just week to week, sudden death type situations. So just keep that in mind as you're doing your start sit. And of course, we're going to have a start sit show in a couple of days. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll talk about that in detail. All right, so let's go ahead and let's move on to is it early Christmas anymore? I mean, this is the week of Christmas, so should I just say Merry Christmas? I think I'm just going to say Merry Christmas this one time. I think this one time I'll say it. All right, here we go. So, of course, the bit's called Merry Early Christmas. So what I do is I normally say Merry Early Christmas to a manager, then we'll discuss why. So let's go ahead and get started. Here we go. Merry Christmas to Zach Moss managers. All right, you already know. So as you already know, Jonathan Taylor is out for the year, so that leaves an opportunity for someone to step in. So Zach Moss led in snaps after Taylor left, but it was a 50-50 split with Deion Jackson until Jackson fumbled. Also, Jackson was the one who caught the touchdown. So, why is it the gift goes to Zach Moss? Well, the Colts traded for Moss. Head coach Jeff Saturday, what he likes to do is he does like to do the ground and pound approach, and that's more Moss's game and not really Jackson's game. And with 3 games left, they can use that time to see what they have with Moss. Okay, so you have to choose one. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Zach Moss. Now, the Colts' next 3 games are against the Chargers and the Giants, who are fourth, or I should say next 2 games, sorry. Yeah, against Chargers and Giants, who are 4th and 9th worst, respectively, against the run. Merry Christmas, Gardner Minshew managers. Oh, this is awful. Okay, and I understand that there's a Brock Purdy out there that could give you a little bit of salve, but come on, man. Come on. This is not going to help. Horrifying news broke that Jalen Hurts has a strained shoulder, and there's a chance that he'll miss at least 1 game. Got an update today. He has not practiced this week. Not good. You look at the projections on your fantasy football app. Says 0. Not good. Okay. In his absence, Gardner Minshew will get the start. And if you don't remember him, a couple years ago, he was so electric that he labeled himself the Jaguar King when he was the QB for Jacksonville. Now, even though he hasn't started a game in a few seasons, with the offensive weapons that the Eagles have, he should still be able to bring the Eagles to a victory, especially with Dallas Goedert set to return from IR this week. Now, this is a concern, okay, that we don't know who his favorite receiver will be. In Jacksonville, he focused on the slot receivers, so this could be good news for Devonta Smith, even though his opportunities are usually hurt by Goddard's presence. Okay, so there's an opportunity there. All right, so the biggest worry for Hurts managers, honestly, I mean, I know that you're going to try. The hope is that it's only going to be 1 week. All right, it's only 1 week, but keep in mind, all right, that if he misses the game and the Eagles win, then they'll probably shut him down for the rest of the regular season. All right, and the reason why I'm saying that is because they only need 1 win to secure the top spot and the bye week. All right, so if they get that 1 week with Gardner Minshew, dude, they're just gonna ride him out, let Jalen Hurts heal, and have him ready to go for the actual NFL finals, which means or playoffs. I mean, which means that he will not be available for you if you make it through to the finals. If your finals is on week 17, if it's this week, then very good chance he's not going to be there. I thought when I first heard the news, and I actually said this to a friend of mine, that he was going to play. The guy is a Jalen Hurts manager, and I told him, I said, I think he's going to play because there's a big rivalry between Dallas and Philadelphia. But now as we're navigating through the week, it's looking more and more possible that he's not. All right, so let's see what happens there. Prayers for Jalen Hurts' shoulder. All right, Merry Christmas, Tyler Algier managers. Atlanta Falcons running back Caleb Huntley suffered an ankle injury and will be out for the rest of the season. After he left, Algier rushed 17 times for 139 yards and a touchdown. It was the best game of his young career. Now, Cordell Patterson will still be the starting running back, but now Algier will be the first one up behind him. It must be noted that also Patterson did have 14 attempts compared to Algier's 17, and 52 yards compared to Algier's 139 yards. So Algier looks like the better back. But it also must be noted that next up for the Falcons will be Baltimore and Arizona. Baltimore has been tough against the run since the Bradley Chubb trade, and his QB is Desmond Ridder, who made Falcons fans long for Marcus Mariota. So the scoring opportunities might start squinching down a little bit for Algier. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to make up your lineup. He's good to have on your roster. It depends on your situation. If you would go ahead and shoot shoot on him, if you would start him this week, it's a tough start. It's a tough start. I do know that, but one thing that you can take a look at is that no matter who the Falcons are playing, they don't care about if they're tough against the run or easy against the run. They like to run. That's their whole thing. Especially with Desmond Ridder, they're going to be doing a lot of running. So you see. Anyway, Merry Early Christmas, Tyler Algier. Okay, so Merry Early Christmas, Malik Willis managers. How about this? Yeah. All right. Tennessee Titans QB Ryan Tannehill picked up yet another ankle issue this past Sunday at the Chargers, but he was able to return, finishing with 165 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception on 68% passing, and 3 carries for 1 yard and a score during a 17-14 loss. On Monday, Coach Mike Vrabel indicated Tannehill will remain the Titans starting signal caller Saturday against the Texans if his health allows him to do so. Kicking off the week with DMP isn't exactly a great sign that Tannehill's in line to do so, but he at least has a pair of sessions remaining to put himself back on path to active status. If Tannehill ends up sidelined this weekend, the rookie Malik Willis would step up for the veteran quarterback. Now, and of course, Tannehill was listed as a non-participant in Tuesday's walkthrough. So the gift goes to Malik Willis managers, but it probably should go to Derrick Henry, since if Tannehill can't play, it'll be a lot of Henry versus Houston. And it also must be noted that the last time that Malik Willis started, it was against, yes, the Houston Texans, and it was a win. So you can see where I'm going with there. All right, last one. Merry Early Christmas, Trace McSorley managers. Never thought I'd say that name. Did you even know that guy existed? Trace McSorley? Sounds like a comic book character, right? Or a cartoon. Trace McSorley. He's Trace McSorley, right? Anyway. On Sunday's game, Colt McCoy was concussed. And with the new protocols, his availability for next week is in serious doubt. Head coach Cliff Kingsbury said Monday that McCoy is day-to-day. Kingsbury confirmed after Sunday's loss to Denver that McCoy was in concussion protocols, so the day-to-day designation isn't surprising, though it does suggest the quarterback will have a chance to suit up against Tampa Bay. However, Arizona's practice reports could provide further clarity on McCoy's upcoming availability, and of course, if he's sidelined, it will be Trace McSorley and David Blau, who has just recently signed to the team, as the Cardinals' top healthy quarterbacks, as Kyler Murray has already been ruled out for the remainder of the season. And if you're curious, McSorley was a 2019 6th round pick, so this is a heck of a gift for Trace McSorley. So I say to you, Merry Christmas, Trace McSorley. Ha ha! Bam! How about that? Yay me! Yeah, look at me ending right on the end of the song. I'm getting good at that. Man. But hey, you take the victories, where they are, and I'm definitely taking that victory. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and let's move on to some news. Okay, all right, so let's start off with some scary stuff from the Chargers. Yeah. Whew. Okay, so head coach Brandon Staley said Monday that Eckler had tests done on his shoulder, but they came back negative. Now, Eckler briefly left the field during the Chargers' first offensive possession of Week 15, but he quickly returned after getting checked on by trainers. He went on to rush 12 times for 58 yards and a score, while securing 2 of 3 targets for 12 additional yards. Whatever the shoulder issue Eckler picked up early in Sunday's win over the Titans doesn't appear to be significant and shouldn't impact his availability moving forward. Though the running back's participation at practice during Week 16 prep may provide further information on the situation. So keep an eye out on that. The Indianapolis Colts have announced that they are sitting Matt Ryan and starting Nick Foles. Foles, yeah. Yeah, it looks like the coaching staff is trying to do everything they can to win a game here. Yeah, this feels almost like the coaching staff is coaching for their jobs, you know. So what does this do to the pass catching options? We're back to Socrates, everybody. All we know is we know nothing. That's where we are. Yeah, I mean, if you remember earlier in the year, I got all excited when the other quarterback came in. He didn't do too well, did he? He was a preseason god, but he was nothing whenever the real season was hitting. Right? He disappointed. So let's see what. So Nick Foles, it would be difficult to say. Yay, that's where we go. So where are we? Like I said, we're back to week one, everybody. We have no idea who Foles will favor, how he'll be, how he'll look, what his propensities are will be in this offense. In other words, the best thing to say about the Colts offense is stay away. Yeah, stay away. Now, you might want. The Zach Moss thing though is a flex with Gus of RB2. You know, because of the fact that it's against the Chargers, who are weak against the defense or against the run defense, or have a weak run defense, is what I meant to say. Also, that since they have Nick Foles, they might be running it more. We'll see. All right, we'll see. The thing is, it's real nerve-wracking. And if you're trying to do this to either win your championship or get into the next round of championships or to get more points because you're round 2 of it, whatever. God, that's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's irritating. You know, it's one of those things that's so stupid. Just so stupid, it just irritates you, man. It just, dumb. All right, anyway. So whatever the case may be, it's a you'd have to be in a very bad situation to go ahead and start him. If you were the Taylor manager, and let me see, Taylor manager, if I had Algier or if I had Zach Moss, where would I go? I would go Zach Moss because of the matchup. I think the matchup is better, and it looks like that. And they traded for Zach Moss, so it looks like that they would probably go ahead and play him. But hopefully you have a deeper bench than that. Cleveland running back Nick Chubb and defensive end Myles Garrett haven't practiced this week, putting their availability for Saturday's game in question. However, it does seem true to me that they are resting Chubb since the weather is forecasted to be extremely windy. So they'll be using a lot of Chubb in that game plan. So it looks like they're just resting the guy. And that's how I would advise any Chubb managers. My wife is a Chubb manager on both her leagues, and I'm telling her just to chill out. Don't worry. He should be okay. Myles Garrett is the one that I'm really nervous about. That guy has a propensity to get hurt. We'll see if he comes back or not. And I'm not sure if that would affect my decision to play the Browns defense or not, because if it's as bad as the weather is going to, if the weather is as bad as it said it's going to be, which Cleveland, usually it is as bad as the way the weather, that forecast is usually pretty right on in Cleveland. Don't know what happened to Buffalo there. I guess the Lord smiled on Buffalo. They heard that those enough prayers. He said, okay, I'll be cool. I'll put the snow at the end of the game. But in Cleveland, I don't think he likes Cleveland. so he just got just let it go. So, yeah, the weather's probably going to be pretty bad in that game. Moving on, Pittsburgh Steelers QB. Kenny Pickett has been cleared to start this Saturday versus the Raiders. This makes things a little easier on the pass catchers for Steelers than the weather is, though. It's supposed to be 9 degrees with winds between 10 to 20 mile an hour. That's painfully cold, everybody. 9 degrees. 9 degrees. Single digits. Yeah. So the question I've had, the turmoil that I've been in is that I have Pat Freiermuth and I have Darren Waller. They're both in the same game. Which one am I choosing in that situation? Just to kind of give you guys a way I'm looking at it. I'm going with Darren Waller, mainly because Darren Waller has made it back from an injury. He's been resting all that time and he's fresh, where Freiermuth is nursing an injury. It's going to be cold. I've already said on the show how I feel about cold weather and injuries. They kind of slow people down. Plus last game, his snaps were already kind of trending down with Zach Gentry coming in and getting more snaps. I'm talking about Freiermuth here. And then last game, he got a big goose egg, baby. I don't even think he got a target. And man, you cannot. I've already said this before on the show, and I'll say it this time, that I don't like it whenever a player's like their floor is 0. I just don't like it. All right, and so I'm going with Waller. Okay, I'm not dropping Fryermuth, but I am going to start Waller because at least even the game he got injured, he got more than 0. So yeah, I'm going with him. So if that gives you an idea, yeah, I'm not very high on Waller. I mean on Fryermuth this game. Even though it's supposed to be even though, let me go and mention this real quick. It's supposed to be a favorable matchup, but Hunter Henry had the exact same matchup last week, and what did he do? All right. Okay, moving on. The Green Bay Packers, they cut wide receiver Sammy Watkins after Romeo Doubs was returned. See what I'm talking about? That's Dobbs thing, man. It's nerve-wracking. Nerve-wracking. Now, the Ravens did claim the veteran off waivers from the Packers on Tuesday. Now, Watkins disappointed in Baltimore in 2021 and didn't do much for the Packers this season before being cut on Monday. But he could get some playing time on a Ravens team that's more desperate than ever for help at wide receiver. Yeah, DeMarcus Robinson, and Duvernay, Devin Duvernay had gotten most of the wideout snaps recently, with Deshaun Jackson and occasionally James Prochet getting some run off the bench. It doesn't hurt that Watkins knows the system from spending the previous season in Baltimore. But wait, there's more. Yep, there is more. The Ravens have placed wide receiver Devin Duvernay on IR Tuesday, ending his season. The nature of the injury Duvernay suffered during Tuesday's practice still isn't fully known, but the Ravens evidently determined the issue was significant enough to sideline the receiver for the remainder of 3 games of the regular season, as well as the first round of the postseason, should Baltimore secure a spot. And that's why they claim Sammy Watkins. You see, 1 and 1 equals 2. But tight end Mark Andrews remains the Ravens' clear top option in the passing game, but the absence of Duvernay should at least open up more playing time and perhaps an extra target or two for the likes of DeMarcus Robinson, Deshaun Jackson, and, of course, James Prochet. Now, I do want to go ahead and mention that the head coach, Harbaugh, also came out and said that he's not ruling out Lamar Jackson for this game, so just keep an eye out on that. We'll just see. We'll just see what happens. Watch practice reports. I don't think he practiced this past week yet, but we're only on Wednesday right now. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. You know how things start ramping up. And use your better judgment. Okay, this is a good time for me to mention that use your better judgment, and not all teams are the same. And what I mean by that is that last week I had this situation, the exact same situation, 2 different players, 2 different teams, and I handled them differently. Last week it was Fryermuth did not practice on Wednesday, did not practice on Thursday, limited practice on Friday, taken off the injury list, good to go for the week. Okay, for the next game. Ramondre Stevenson did not practice on Wednesday, did not practice on Thursday, limited practice on Friday. We'll see what happens. Like game time decision. All right. Seems like Stevenson was the one that was kind of more shaky than Fryermuth, right? Especially with Fryermuth saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to play. Don't worry about it. I'm going to play." Right? Well, what I ended up doing is I pivoted away from Fryermuth. Now, it was a crazy pivot that didn't work. Okay, like a little news flash here. Jeff Driscoll is not good at football. Okay, he's good at surprising people, but once that surprise thing is gone, that's it, man. He's a jack in the box, a Jeff in the box, so to speak. Pa! Oh, it gets you that first time, but the second time you just keep watching it. And he did not once surprise the Kansas City Chiefs. He's not athletic enough to get around it whenever teams are expecting it. Even though it's a weak defense in Kansas City, which, come on, everybody, we know that their defense is not good. They made the Texans look good. Come on. Okay, so point I'm making is that I sat Fryermuth. Then whenever I got the all clear from Stevenson, I went ahead and I switched in and I put Stevenson in. Now, the reason why I did that was because I know that 2 things about the Patriots. They don't give you full details on the injuries, okay, which is frustrating, but they also, if a player is not 100% or if they're not going to use the guy, then they don't put him in. Look at Damian Harris. I mean, that guy has been on like questionable for the whole, pretty much feels like the whole season, right? Questionable the whole damn time. right? They did put him in too early. He gets the quad, or he comes back from the hamstring, gets the quad thing, right? And so now the quad thing has been almost a month now. All right, last week was a very important game. They needed him, but they didn't put him in because he wasn't ready to go. All right, that's how the Patriots. So the Patriots, if they say somebody's good to go, I believe it. Let it and play him. Anybody else, pretty much, not so much. All right, this last bit of news is a perfect segue to Thursday Night Football. Jets head coach Robert Saleh said Tuesday that Mike White is ruled out for Thursday's game against the Jaguars. Salah said he doesn't believe White's ribs injury is season-ending, but it will be Zach Wilson getting at least one more start for the Jets. White's next chance to start will come January 1st versus the Seahawks, while veteran Joe Flacco will serve as Wilson's backup Thursday. Now, you saw what White did to the offensive weapons in New York last week, so let's go over it. Garrett Wilson saw 9 targets with 4 receptions for 98 yards, so it wasn't ceiling like you're hoping for versus the questionable Lions secondary, but it definitely didn't goose you. It was not a bad outing. Elijah Moore saw 7 targets with 4 receptions for 51 yards. Again, I must point out that the weakness of the Detroit Lions is their secondary, and that many targets should have yielded more production. It was just proof that Zach Wilson's targets aren't that valuable. And how about Conklin? Yeah, Conklin didn't do well, but Uzama was the one that caught the touchdown pass, the long touchdown pass. So how do you look at everything going forward now? Because the Jacksonville Jaguars, you know what? Let's just go ahead and let's just move on. Let's just move on. Okay, yeah, okay, there we go. That's the bit of news. Okay, now let's go ahead and now let's move on to Thursday Night Football. All right, let's go ahead and do that. All right, so all right, here we go. So Thursday Night Football. Yes, what can I put here? Oh yeah, I liked playing this. I like playing this when we did it, so that makes me laugh. And if you can't have fun on your own show, what are you doing? Okay, here we go. All right, yeah, Thursday Night Football. Oh yeah, Thursday Night Football. So the Jacksonville Jaguars will fly to East Rutherford, New Jersey, to play the New York Jets in New Jersey. Whatever, man, you figure that out. Listen to this, everybody. The actual weather forecast is 45 degrees, 100% chance of rain, potential for heavy rain, rainfall near an inch, and 17-mile-an-hour winds. Okay, FanDuel over/under is 37.5, with Jacksonville being favored by 1.5 points. In other words, that's Vegas going, I don't know. What do you think? They're basically saying that. They're going, what do you think? What do you think? Yeah, okay, that sounds good too. All right, so yeah, it's going to be a coin flip. All right, but before we go any further, let me just make sure and let you know, okay, that before we talk about Shooter Sees Fire, all right, that temper all expectations with the production of these players. Heavy rain and wind is no joke. All right. With that said, the Jaguars have allowed at least 20 points in 8 straight games. Okay, so keep all these things in your heart while we're discussing this. Here we go. Jacksonville. Who would we shoot on? Trevor Lawrence. I know that weather is bad. All right, but he's been too hot to sit unless you have one of the elite quarterbacks. All right, I'd probably shoot on Justin Fields before I do Lawrence, even though Fields is downgraded because he's going against a great defense in Buffalo. Plus, it's supposed to be 20-mile-an-hour winds and 9 degrees. Right, just not good, man. Just not good. All right, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. All right, Christian Kirk does get a lot of short targets, and it's more difficult to run versus the New York Jets D than it is to pass on them. And you saw what Zay Jones did last week. How are you going to sit Zay Jones after he had 3 touchdowns? You can't, right? So those guys, I would shoot on them. Travis Etienne, that's the one that's a little kind of weird because, again, that run defense is legit. And that is something where if you have something better, I would do Zach Moss before I do Travis Etienne, just because of they're not using him in the past as much as you would expect. All right, and of course now let's go ahead and go to, I think that's and the kickers and stuff like that. The defenses No, we're in Jacksonville. Yeah, let's move to the New York Jets. The defense. I always shoot on the defense for the New York Jets. All right. I understand about the situation, but that weather is crazy, and that favors defenses, and that defense is very, very tough. I would shoot on Garrett Wilson. I just said before, but let's go ahead and let's talk about Tyler Conklin. All right. There is some good news and some bad news about Tyler Conklin. All right. So we'll end on Tyler Conklin here. So Tyler Conklin is a top 5 in routes run this season. He's also among the top 12 in receptions and touchdowns. All right. His backup, CJ Uzomah. All right. So you know who CJ Uzomah is, right? I just told you he scored 2 touchdowns on Sunday. But Conklin remains the clear receiving tight end based on routes and the situations in which he was used. The Jets play the Jaguars and Seahawks. Okay, so he's not. So Conklin's not bad to have. However, the way I'm looking at it is that you're having a lesser quarterback in Zach Wilson in the rain with wind. Okay, they're splitting snaps with Uzomah. I would say cease fire on Tyler Conklin. No matter, even though he has a great matchup. And if you remember, I think last week I was praising Tyler Conklin, saying he's like the great waiver wire pickup to pick up. But man, with no Mike White, that changes a lot of things. I'm telling you, for Conklin, it does. Yeah, until Mike White's back, dude, it's no bueno for him. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do the last part of the show with a little bit of Oh, look at that. Jeff Wilson Jr. was limited in practice on Wednesday, so he might play. So, yeah, how about that? All right, okay. So let's go ahead and let's start with the last segment, the what's going on. All right, so this is where we're going to talk about some of the big pickups, waiver wire pickups, to see if they're really something that you should pick up on. All right, so if you should go. So let's start with the one that was actually got a gift today, which is Gardner Minshew. Oops, excuse me, which is Gardner Minshew. Pardon. It's after lunch, pardon. Okay, yeah, so Minshew is expected. Okay, he is going to be the Eagles' starting quarterback this week. All right, but check this out. Minshew started 2 games for the Eagles last season and was QB 10 and QB 18 in those weeks. All right. So he has scrambled on 7.74% of his dropbacks in his career. He joins Hurts among the top 10 quarterbacks in scramble rate. He will be playing with by far his best weapons of his career. He will also be playing indoors while several other teams will be playing in very cold temperatures. All right, the Eagles are playing the Cowboys this week. They just allowed a 318-yard, 4-touchdown passing performance and have surrendered at least 200 yards and a touchdown in each of the past 4 weeks. So if you're scrambling out there saying, hey, that Dallas Cowboys, they're going to be a lockdown, great defense, I don't know. I'd pump the brakes there a little bit. All right, so and these other, like, I'm looking at the list of, let's go and talk about Mac Jones. Let's talk about Mac Jones. All right. So Jones went just 13 for 31 for 112 yards on Sunday, with various skill players out with injury, playing hurt, or missing some time during the game through injury. In week 17, he plays a Dolphins defense, that's next week, that has allowed the 4th most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. That's interesting, right? Yeah, Miami's defense has employed man coverage at the 4th highest rate in the league this season. Jones has a career 14-9 touchdown to interception ratio against man defense, compared to 7-11 against the zone. All right, so this guy is somebody that you can pick up. Yeah, let's say that if you have Jalen Hurts, okay, and you want to go like Minshew this week, or not even Minshew, if you want to do Brock Purdy, because everybody seems to be like saying Brock Purdy's the guy to go. All right, and then you're worried about the following week with Purdy, and you can do Mac Jones, because you're effectively going to be streaming from this point on if you're the Jalen Hurts manager. I'd also mention about the Jalen Hurts injury. That does, it goes without saying, it downgrades all the other receiving options. A.J. Brown, who knows who he's going to throw to? We have no idea, right? So just keep an eye out for that. Zach Moss, okay, was one of the running backs. I think we already talked about him. But here's another one. Let's talk about this guy, CHUBB Hubbard. What's going on with CHUBB Hubbard? All right. He handled his largest role of the season for the Panthers this past game. All right. He gained only 10 yards on 4 carries, but caught 3 passes for 57 yards. Deontay Foreman was ineffective, gaining 9 yards on 10 carries with no targets. Foreman hasn't averaged more than 5 yards per carry since week 7, everybody. Let me say it again. He has not averaged more than 5 yards per carry since week 7. This was the 4th game in 6 weeks at 3.5 yards per carry or less. Hubbard has typically played more passing downs, but this was his first time. Playing 100% of those snaps. He also played a decent amount in short yardage situations, as he has all season. Now, I must tell you though, I can keep on going, but I want to give you a bottom line. They play the Detroit Lions, and what have the Detroit Lions been doing? They've been shutting down running backs. So keep that in mind. So if you want to go the CHUBB train, that's great. The CHUBB train, all right? Just hold on tight. All right? Because Detroit Lions are tough. And, of course, we already talked about Tyler Algier. Let's talk about this running back, because this one's a real big question mark for me. All right, let me see where we are on time. Okay, yeah, we're doing good. Gus Edwards. All right, Gus Edwards. Let's talk about him. He's 34% owned. J.K. Dobbins was back for his 2nd game since his return, and the Ravens adjusted their running back usage on Saturday. Kenyon Drake was a healthy scratch for the first time since early October. He was barely used last week, as Baltimore seemed happy to use just 3 backs. The Ravens used all 4 of their running backs on passing downs last week, but Justice Hill seemed to return to his role as the Ravens passing down back in week 15. Now, that's a role that Hill has maintained most of the season. Edwards ran 7 times for 55 yards. His playing time and workload today, this past Sunday, was largely dependent on the Ravens' negative game script. Right? Script. Yes. So the script, let's say it one more time, script. Yeah, the game script for the next 2 games should be much different, especially if Lamar Jackson is ready to return. Edwards should be back to double-digit carries, where you should see plenty of yards on the ground. So if you play week 17 and week 18 in that weird, stupid league, then you might want to think about picking him up. One more I wanted to talk about, one more running back, James Cook. Now, the Bills used Devin Singletary and Cook interchangeably for the 3rd straight week. Singletary played all 9 snaps over the Bills' first 2 drives, which seemed like a step in the wrong direction for Cook. Buffalo mostly rotated by drive after that point. Now, Cook was the more effective runner in week 15. He gained 8 yards in his first carry, while Singletary totaled 6 yards from his first 6 carries. Again, let me read that to you again. He gained 8 yards on his first carry, while Singletary totaled 6 yards from his first 6 carries. Cook finished with more than twice as many yards per carry than Singletary, 6.8 to Singletary's 3.2. Singletary caught more passes, but Cook scored the receiving touchdown. Buffalo plays the Chicago Bears next week in a game Cook should be able to see double-digit carries. So he's somebody that would be good to have on the waiver wire. So if he's sitting there, I would probably go after that, because the Bears have allowed the 4th most fantasy points to running backs this season. Yeah, now week 17 is against the Bengals, which is against the Bengals, sorry, which is less favorable. But we're living week to week on this guy, right? Yeah. So let's go ahead and let's move on to wide receiver. The first wide receiver is somebody that if you look at the data screams great. All right. But the problem is that he's on the Houston Texans. Yes, I'm talking about Chris Moore. All right. So what do you do with Chris Moore? And he's been the Texans' top wide receiver over the last 2 weeks. He's been targeted 19 times in the past 2 weeks. That's fantastic, right? That's elite usage. Now, he's tied for 9th in targets in that time, and also ranks top 12 in receptions and yards. And now, of course, this is with Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins out, so this is, prescriptive. You have to make sure that situation's happening. But Cooks was limited in practice late last week, but still was ruled out on Saturday. Now, he is a starter as long as both those guys are out. But if they're back, the Texans play the Titans next week. And you remember that normally The Titans are very weak against the pass. Last week was weird, man, with that Justin Herbert thing. Oh, man, that was painful. My brother and I were actually talking because he had just the way that his draft went with the people he's with, that he was able to get Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. He chose Justin Herbert, and of course, he now is out of the playoffs because of that move. But it's usually the best matchup for quarterbacks. So you can't always depend on matchups, I guess, sometimes. Demarcus Robinson, I think we did kind of talk to. I don't know, we didn't really talk about him. I just mentioned him. He is now the Ravens' top wide receiver. Okay, so he led the Ravens in 6 targets, 6 receptions, and 29 yards in Week 15. Not very big numbers, but still, he led it. Right. This was Robinson's 3rd straight game with at least 5 receptions. Right. So, Baltimore plays the Atlanta Falcons and Pittsburgh Steelers over the next 2 weeks. They ranked 6th and 5th, respectively, and if Jackson's back, that's even better. But he has a high floor due to his recent targets and opponents. So, he's not that bad to have if you're in a pinch for a wide receiver. Let's talk about Darius Slayton. Okay, so he's been quiet. Ooh, excuse me. That's crazy. That happened right whenever I went back. I'm telling you, man, that's a wire. That's not me busting ass over here. I promise you it's not. That's funny. Okay, Slayton has been quiet over the last 2 weeks, but he does have a 6-game stretch from late October to early December with at least 50 yards each game. Now, Slayton does remain the Giants' top receiver in terms of playing time. Okay, and routes run. Okay, and he's someone to consider for next week because he takes on the Vikings. Look what the Vikings did for Pittman. Even with that terrible, the largest historic collapse that the Colts did, Pittman still did well because the Vikings secondary is so bad. So he is somebody that I would hold on to if you're playing next week or that ridiculous Week 18. Now, DBJ, let's talk about him. Donovan Peoples-Jones. Now, I will tell you right now, I would not recommend shooting on him or starting him, whatever you want to say it, this week. That weather's terrible. Terrible, and he's going against the Saints. I would not do it. I just would not do it. But let's just go ahead and talk about if you should be somebody's you should keep in the event if you're playing Week 17th or that ridiculous Week 18th. He caught the Browns' only touchdown on Saturday and has been Cleveland's favorite target over the last 2 weeks. So that Cooper Watson thing, I traded for Cooper thinking that I was going to have something special later into the playoffs because because the matchups look good and Watson was coming back, but Watson don't give a damn about Cooper. Yeah, he's not hanging with Mr. Cooper. That's what everybody says, right? So I might as well just follow the lead on that one. Okay. But DBJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, he caught 8 passes for 114 yards in Week 14. The Browns rotated him out for 1 drive Saturday, but outside of that, he rarely left the field. He ranked top 20 in routes run this season coming into Week 15, which that is very impressive, actually, especially with how much the Browns run the ball. Now, his touchdown against the Ravens on Saturday was his second of the season. Yeah, I should go like that. Second. Yeah, show my reading. Second. Yeah, yeah. Cleveland has average matchups over the next 2 weeks. Actually, they're pretty good. It's just depending on that darn weather, man. Whew, that stuff is crazy. All right, and let's see here. Who else can we talk about? Let's talk about this guy. Let's go ahead. This be the last wide receiver we talk about. Rashid Shaheed, right, from the New Orleans Saints, right, under 1% owned, right, the managed. The undrafted rookie led the Saints skill players in snaps played at 39, routes run at 20, and receiving yards at 95. His playing time has slowly but surely been rising in the recent weeks. This was his 3rd straight game with more than 50 receiving yards, and he has similar number of routes and similar number of targets as Chris Olave and Jarvis Landry over the past 3 weeks. Yeah, so again, I must go ahead and tell you. All right, I have to tell you. Don't play him today. Sit him, cease fire on Shaheed. He's playing in Cleveland. All right, and that weather is going to be awful, terrible. So don't even look that direction. Here's another guy. I want to talk to. Let's move on to tight ends. Let's round this off with tight ends. Man, Juwan Johnson. Let's talk about that guy. All right. First and foremost, let me just go ahead and put it out there. All the stuff I'm going to read, you already know. Okay, it's all exciting. It's great numbers. It's something you should be excited about going into your championship week or your semifinals, or if you're playing that weird, stupid thing in week 18. Still, you should be excited about this, right? Wrong. Johnson returned to action after suffering an ankle injury in week 12. Okay, he was a limited participant, and practice, and then he became full. All right, he scored 2 touchdowns. Okay, and his playing time is compared to usual, giving both. They limited his playing time. I should say, giving Adam Troutman and Taysom Hill more snaps. All right, now this only left Johnson with 13 routes, but he was a target on 6 of them, and he should get more playing time. However, that weather is going to be terrible. Ceasefire on him for this week. All right, he scored 7 touchdowns over the last 7 weeks, and he can't necessarily be trusted to put up a lot of yards, but he's a touchdown or bust guy. And so if you're excited about those touchdowns, man, he's somebody that should be picked up. Here's another guy that I would not recommend to shoot on or start for this week, but definitely does have great opportunity. Chig Okonkwo, right? Why am I saying that? Well, because he led the teams in targets and ran more pass routes than Austin Hooper. However, Ryan Tannehill might not play, okay? And he's in danger of being knocked out. You can't trust that in the playoffs, everybody. So pick him up. Check on, but this is all. Everything I'm about to tell you is all on the idea that Ryan Tannehill plays. If Ryan Tannehill doesn't play, then all bets are off, and he's a ceasefire. He's a sit. He caught 4 of his 5 targets for 54 yards. He finished second on the team in receiving yards. All right, he played 32 snaps in 11 personnel over the last 2 weeks, after playing 40 snaps from 11 personnel over the first 13 weeks. The Titans even gave him a carry, on which he gained 6 yards, right? He remained the top tight end in yards per route run among those with at least 50 routes. The next closest player is Travis Kelce. Yeah, so he has a favorable matchup against Houston, but I told you, man, that thing with Tannehill. Unless you get that Tannehill, like his ankle is good to go and there's no problem, they're not worried about setbacks, I'd pull back a little bit on that guy. All right, we already talked about Tyler Conklin. Here's the last one. Again, let me see what the time is. Yeah, let me just do one more. Jordan Akins, he caught his 2nd touchdown in 4 weeks for the Texans. All right. Now, Akins has been a rotational tight end on early downs, but has consistently been on the field for 3rd downs. The fact that Houston has stayed competitive in recent weeks has hurt Akins' playing time. He played more snaps with his side down by a score or 2. Typically, a tight end in this role isn't worth starting most weeks, but Houston plays Tennessee next week. All right, and the Titans have allowed the 5th most receiving yards to tight ends this season, giving Houston one of the best matchups next week. All right, okay, all right. So that ends the what's going on segment. So let's go ahead and let's put a bow on the show here. All right, I want to make sure thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, if you enjoyed the information, or just loved hanging out with me, make sure and click that bell. Like and subscribe to the video, man. Listen, if anything, make sure to click that bell. All right, because here's the thing, is that we do all types of shows. Not only do we do 2 shows a week during the fantasy season, but we also do shorts, and we also do sniper episodes that pop up whenever news breaks throughout the year. Okay, not just through this fantasy season. We might take it a little bit easy in the off season, all right? But man, whenever something pops, trade, an injury, something, yeah, man, you better bet we're going to do a sniper episode. So when you see Shoot the Gap pop up, then you know that something has happened. So make sure, click that bell. Want to make sure and thank our sponsors, again, our supporters, Sports Host app and High Volume Music Radio. Check out Connor's book. It's on Amazon. The link's below. You Know Too Much. And also make sure, okay, and I'll tell this to you again, all right? Drive Time Sports with Charlie and Brian on High Volume Music Radio. It's a live interactive sports on Thursday, 4 to 6. So if you have any type of fantasy football questions, feel free to give me a call. I'll be more than happy to answer these start sits, or we'll discuss anything. Or if you don't like what I'm saying, talk to me about it, man. I'd love to talk to you. All right, so make sure to do that. Leave a comment if you like, also, below. Anyway, so on behalf of me, Brian the Amigo Baldwin, want to thank you so much for watching. I want to do my party shot. My party shot is remember this idiom. In the fantasy playoffs, it's better to start a good player versus a favorable matchup over a great player with a bad matchup. All right? It's better to start a good player versus a favorable matchup over a great player with a bad matchup. And also trust your instincts. All right? If you're in the finals or the semifinals, like I told you, you're a great player. Okay, you're a great fantasy football player. You can make good decisions. You're praying correctly. The Lord's blessing you. So trust yourself and your instincts, all right? This is not the time to second guess. You're almost there, all right? So, and also remember this. This should relieve the pressure. You are already a success, okay? No matter what happens, you are a success, okay? So just keep all that in mind. Keep that in your heart. All right, okay. So with that, let's get to the last line. Remember, everyone, in fantasy football, as in life, don't dream it, be it. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck on your games. And we have a Shoot or Cease Fire coming up in a couple of days for the rest of the game, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.